Discovery arriving.
John Phillips, former naval officer, with the now famous tradition of ringing on board the visiting crew of Discovery.
Racing Discovery, we're getting some great video. You guys look great.
And the largest contingent of crew members on board the International Space Station since November 25th, 2002.
And it was a rare opportunity that we had just to hang around for a little bit. You see Sergey and Eileen enjoying a little bit of a break. Those moments were few and far between. Literally, as soon as we got on board the space station, it was time for us to start robotic operations. Vegas and I were the prime space station robotic arm operators. One of the first things we had to do was grapple the boom and hand it off to the shuttle arm, and you saw that maneuver right there. The next flight day, it was time for us to install the MPLM.
Meanwhile, down in the mid-deck, EVA folks are preparing for the first spacewalks. Yes, we are doing very hard, degassing the water bag to make sure you can feel the full volume of the water before the EVA. And make sure you put the pants on before you get out. And you can see the big digital camera floating behind us and waving. That's the sign language in Japanese. Thank you. And Steve Ray is very happy before opening the door. This is a shot from mid-deck that I'm going outside. This is a view from outside that we'll make sure that we are starting the EVA. And the very first task was the demonstration of the on-orbit repair of the TPS. And we'll check the tools one more time before we start the demonstration. The first demonstration was Stevie Ray did crack repair for the RCC. He used the Novax non-oxide adhesive experimental, and that's using a spatula. Steve doing Iron Chef in space. Tastes like peanut butter. And I'm using the tile repair. We call the EVA, emittance wash applicator, using a Shugu type application to the damaged tile. And this shape, we call it a PGT shape. I thought it was representing Japanese island. And both demonstrations were great. And we go move on to the fun part of riding the arm. And let Steve Ray describe the ride on the arm.
Riding the arm up and seeing views like this was a great way to spend your first couple hours outside. We spent a little over 20 hours outside and with the 3 EVAs, and it was just a real pleasure to work with Soichi-san. We're just spacewalk brothers after so many years of training together. This is the helmet cam view of climbing around on the space station. It's what it looks like. And when Soichi's out on the end of the arm carrying that big control moment gyro that he replaced, that's what he looked like. Spectacular view. Here it is being installed in its carrying location back in the payload bay. We brought up a new one and replaced the broken one on station. Soichi is checking his hair. Look at that big vortex pattern in the ground there. The things that you can see while you're doing an EVA are truly wonderful. It was time to, if you look at that little spacewalking guy off the nose of the orbiter, that's EV2 working on moving up to the gap filler. Wendy was flying the arm with Vegas's help. Andy was supervising. We reached out and pulled out those gap fillers that were a little too far forward for us to be comfortable with. And the ground team put together a wonderful plan for us. It worked great. And we were pleased that the gap filler came right out. It's a little red RTV on it. That's the stuff that bonds it together, although not perfectly, obviously. And this is Soichi and I were sort of taking pictures of each other as we came back. And this is what the gap fillers really look like. They're sort of a cardboardy type substance.
Vegas and I got to do some repair work of our own, only indoors, and this was an RCC plug, reinforced carbon-carbon plug demo, where you would actually repair a hole in the leading edge, and this was a carbon silicon carbide produced by Thiokol. Here is John Phillips, Vegas, and Wendy putting in one of the payloads we brought up, which was the HRF rack. And John was very happy to get this because that meant he had a legitimate reason to be on station and do work. Now, the real brains behind transfer was Wendy, of course. We were basically her drones, and Wendy, and thanks to Cindy, did a fantastic job, and really the best way to transfer this cargo was basically form a conga line. And when you have several people, this is me tossing some bags which were tossed to me out, and this is going back in, going to Andy. Seems to be a little bit overloaded here. Looks like an old Lucy flick, but and then he's passing them off to Wendy, and of course Eileen was the water person that collected all the water. And here Sergey, Vegas, and I are wrestling with that famous ZSR rack, and we're trying to figure out just how does this thing go together and put it all away, and we actually did figure out how to do that and got it in place before we came home, and I'm happy. Wendy did a masterful job also on the arm, like you heard, and her and Vegas both flew the MPLM and put it back in the payload bay. And of course, we had a great time visiting our friends and colleagues in space and eating with them and getting to sign the logbook on the International Space Station. Too bad we had to say goodbye. You notice Eileen is at the hatch, and she's making sure we really do get back on the vehicle and come home.
After saying goodbye, we had to go ahead and leave, and this is a view of Discovery undocking from the International Space Station. 1,000 feet. Landing gears down and locked. Main gear touchdown. Drag chute deploy. Nose gear touchdown. And Discovery is home.
NASA's Kennedy Launch Pad repairs